Hello and welcome back to the weekly Woo from March 2nd to March 8th, 2026. Okay, well, we have actually, it's fairly eventful week upon us. The good news is we this week have no hard, harsh, problematic or full of conflict, hard major aspects like squares or oppositions. So would that mean it's going to be a smooth, ultra good week? No, I can't say that. I can't say that because there's too many other things going on that would impact those areas of challenges not showing up. So they certainly will. Okay, so I will just go over the brief shifts for the week. So we have a lot of planetary shifts, which is going to shift our focus, which is going to shift how we feel, how we project ourselves, and the energies all around. So March 2nd, Mars will enter Pisces. This is kind of an unusual combination. This is like, I like to describe it as the god of war mixing with the queen of compassion. So Mars is a go-getter, it's a fighter, it's a pioneer, it's light the fire, let's get going. And Pisces is watery and it's emotional and it's spiritual, and when Mars gets into Pisces it's kind of like, what the hell is this? But when it's projected in the right way, it can be exceptionally creative, artistic, inspirational. But it's kind of an unusual combination where Mars wants to push and Pisces is like, you know what, let's just take a look around and enjoy life and see what's sweet and beautiful, use our imagination, our artsy creativity in mind. And Mars likes to just trailblaze, right? So it's a good combination as long as you know how to use it, but it's an unusual combo. It's not a detriment, but it's not well matched either. But it can be very, very efficient and very useful in the means where if the energy is channeled right. Okay, so March 2nd. Okay, so that was March 2nd. Sorry, March 3rd. We will have our full moon total lunar eclipse at 12 degrees Virgo. Okay, so this will actually officially close our bridge eclipse season, but does that mean it's over? No, because we'll enter the post shadow period. Okay, but it will end the eclipse season officially, and then we merge into our post shadow season for, I like to allow about 2 months. Okay, so that will take us into about May 3rd-ish, something like that. Every day the energy of the eclipse season will lighten. Okay, so remember, eclipse in or out, people, places, things, stuff in life, usually on a permanent scale. And it can be small, medium to large changes going on in life. So very, very impactful. They come around about every 6 months and they kind of redirect our channel in life, our journey in life, and they put us on the right trajectory for our life path. So they come in to make those basically non-negotiable changes, which we have nothing to say about. So the only thing we do have something to say about is how we respond, how we react, and how we carry on. Okay, so they implement change in life. That's usually permanent. Okay, so that is, and just remember, that actually was a hybrid eclipse. So the first solar eclipse was in Aquarius, and the other half was March 3rd, will be March 3rd in Virgo. So that's a combination of two signs that really are not opposing, but it merges in the next set of signs. So just note, this particular eclipse combo, eclipse opposition sign of Pisces Virgo, will come to a close in July 2026. Okay, and so when we have a hybrid eclipse, that is welcoming in the new set of signs, the opposing signs, which is going to be North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo. Okay, so that will take over in, of course, July 2026. Okay, so moving on. And so on March 6th, Venus will enter Aries. And this is a detriment sign. Venus is not real comfortable, not real happy in the sign of hot, fiery Aries. Venus is sensual, and it's our divine feminine. And Aries is the go-getter, firelighter. It wants to go. It's go-getter energy. Get on it or stay home. And Venus likes to take its time. Venus likes to find things in life. And Aries is always in a hurry to get there and be done and the first one in line. But again, if you use this energy or this combination wisely, it can take you some really, really good places. It's just like a mismatched energy combination. Okay, and interestingly enough, as we get into March 7th and 8th, these are really, really, really big energy days. We actually have 3 conjunctions on the weekend. So conjunctions, I don't like to say positive or negative. They run the top rail of the fence, but they can fall off either side, negative or positive. So this has got a huge amount of potential coming in. And So it just depends how it falls for you, what you have going on in life, and the situation or circumstances that are surrounding it, okay? And we will see this whole week very, very impactfully on a global scale. So that will basically wrap up all the planetary shifts and kind of major configurations for aspects. But something I do want to say is because we are having our full moon total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo at 12 degrees, total lunar eclipses, they cut away, they bring endings, closures, resolutions, conclusions. Okay, so we are going to be looking at some endings, and you'll probably see that show up in a big way on the global scale. So when we're looking at leaders, people of power, people of status that hold power and status maybe over like countries, provinces, states, those kind of things. So we will be seeing kind of an uproar there. And the other thing I want to mention about that when it comes to powerful leaders in any way, shape, or form. So that can be municipal, that can be state, that can be provincial, that can be country, global leaders as a whole. You can probably expect to see a bunch of reality checks coming in, a bunch of truths surfacing, those kind of things. And again, this whole week we have kind of an active Uranus, but not as crazy as last week, but we'll still be feeling its crazy effects of, out of the blue, unexpected things and events taking place. And Algol is being triggered this week. And so Algol is known as the demon star. It's known as the Medusa's head, off with the head. So literally it could be physical death, right? Not so much, but probably because, those days of beheading are kind of over. But that's essentially what it means. Would be a loss of position, status, title, power. It actually can be loss of like a figure of life as well. But it's also known as the death and wealth star, as well as the demon star. So again, this can be touching on people's wealth or legacy money, or it can have to do with money that we're sitting in people with powerful statuses, like their estates or their net worth, hidden money, that kind of stuff. So those kind of things are going to be coming up because this week is definitely mixing with Algol, and that's just kind of the area it covers. And so other areas that Algol star can cover is anything to do with the teeth and dentures, alcoholism. And on a more positive side, like for the most part, that's a very, very challenged demon star. The head of Medusa, off with the head, those kind of things. But it can, in a lighter fashion, also be talking about people or situations who have had a lot of struggle trying to overcome problems or problematic situations where it's just a continuous battle. But that continuous battle often can come out in very, very positive ways, which can result in, wealth or great success. But it's taken some time. It's taken a whole lot of effort, probably a whole lot of heartache to get there. So again, we can start seeing stories of those kind of things like, it's been a struggle, but I finally made it to the top. All right. Okay, so, and our overshadowing larger aspects we are sitting in a 2-planet retrograde. So Jupiter is in retrograde in Cancer, and that's its exalted sign, so it's happy being there, right? And so that will actually station direct motion on March 10th. So that will bring another planet into direct motion. And the other planet we just have recently went retrograde was Mercury retrograde. That went retrograde on February 26th. Okay, so I will talk about the Mercury retrograde do's and don'ts a little bit later on in the recording. So we are sitting in a 2-planet retrograde. We are in currently the bridge season of total full-blown eclipse season up until, of course, like I said, March 2nd. Then we will enter the post-shadow season from March 3rd to about, like May 3rd or something like that, somewhere in that area. And so that will be a major overshadowing energy. So remember, eclipses eclipse in or eclipse out, okay? They are main players in a calendar year. They happen every 6 months. All right. So we have a few more challenging aspects than positive ones, but we have some really nice ones too as well, right? And again, the conjunctions. It's a big news week, so you can expect big news or information or communications incoming, outgoing, or major communications going on the global stage, political stage specifically. There can be really good ideas coming in for creative ideas, creative ventures, creative projects. And, entrepreneurial energy is coming up loud and clear as well. And again, this can have to do with money and finances, hidden money and finances, truth coming out. Again, this is really linking around high profile leaders in the world, okay? And again, this can be really, really good news to do with money and financing and structures and really building the new areas that need to be built in our new world coming up. So this is really about taking a solid footing in life, and again, sovereignty. That is written all over this week because we have so much Aries energies coming in, and with these new cycles coming in, which really hovers around law, legal areas, things being rewritten, rerouted, boundaries, maybe new boundaries on the map, right? So I would say lines of what am I trying to think of here? The lines between states, provinces, maybe countries will be becoming erased and rewritten. So boundaries, that would be like state lines, provincial lines, country lines being erased and readdressed. So it probably won't happen this week, but it will certainly be in the works. Borders, that's the word I'm thinking of. So barriers or borders between, cities, provinces, states, countries, and that's in the works. And so this is about rebuilding new structures, right? So getting rid of the old ways, the old structures, the worn out ways. And that usually comes by exposure of something that was hidden that should not have been known. And when it gets exposed or revealed, all of a sudden the old ways that are built on weak foundations, falsehoods, they implode, and therefore we start rewriting and rerouting and rebuilding the new structures that will be put in place permanently. Okay, so that will fall around law, legal structures, legal areas. Could be even law enforcement, or even legal counsel, court systems, leaders, anybody with a high profile, powerful status. Okay, so they're looking at that. So again, the idea of sovereignty, that is we see that going on right now, but it's going to be very, very highlighted this week. Okay, we will look after our own, we'll take care of our own. What's working for us is going to be out the door, and we will rewrite the rules, and we will take care of our own governing body. So whether that's in your house or home, rules are going to be written. That can be country, that can be provincial, that can be state, that can be town, village, whatever. All right. So moving on. So we will be having a week where plans are definitely going to change. Okay, and I'm going to say just do not engage if you are kind of invited for a fight or a conflict, because that's really going to take you no place good this week, right? We got a lot of this could really be boiling over into high tempers. Lashing out because you're angry. Do not do that. Do not engage. Again, because we can have emotional anger going hand in hand, because we have Mars entering Pisces, which is firing up the emotions. That can be good or bad. And then we have Venus entering Aries again. That can be very emotional within any type of relationship or partnership that has got fire behind it, right? So that can be fire, good or bad. But because we have conjunctions, again, that can go either way. So that can be really smooth and flowing, growth oriented, harmonious, or it can be angry, upset, war torn. All right. Again, so the plans are going to change probably on a daily basis, probably multiple times a day. We don't have any major negative challenge aspects. So that's a check. Yeah, that's a good thing. But we do have quite a few minor hiccup aspects. So we're looking at sesquiquadrates. That's the pick a fight. That's tension. That's aggravation. That's being irritated. So don't bite if you're throwing the hook. Throw it back. Walk away. And we have lots. We have semi-squares. We have semi-sextiles. That's very annoying. We have quintile after quintile after quintile, which means plans are going to change. Plans are going to be altered. So just be flexible. Be adjustable. Be light on your feet. Be willing to change. Be open and willing. Okay. Again, towards the weekend, it's going to be very, very impactful. So that would not only mean, news or information you might hear, you might see, but it's going to be action-packed, action-oriented. So it can be things that will happen that's like just kind of like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I just can't believe that. And again, a lot of truth surfacing. And again, this can be super, super, super good for those creative endeavors, those creative projects, those creative expression things. So whether it's writing or it's poetry or musical or artistic, beauty related, anything to do with that. You might be a seamstress, anything to do with creative expression that would say something about you that you could give to the world. Okay. All right. Again, this week is very highlighted Again, not only with communication. So remember, when I say communication, I mean everything under the sun. That can be text messages, that can be phone calls, that can be literally mail from their post office, incoming, outgoing, just chit chat, news on the TV, running into people. And so just keep that in mind. And something else I do want to address, because it's very, very communication oriented, Mercury active. This also brings up the Mercury retrograde. So you can expect hearing and seeing people from your past show up. So whether they run into you on the street, you see them in traffic, they get a phone call, a text message, an email, anything like that, that is very, very prevalent for Mercury retrograde. When Mercury retrograde comes around, which is 3 times a year for about 3 weeks each span, that acts like a magnet for those people that come out of the woodwork from the past. So don't always assume bad, because sometimes this can be that long lost friend you haven't talked to for 15 years and you just pick up where you left off, or it can definitely involve ex people from your past which you'd rather not see or have any interaction with, right? So that's positive or negative, right? Take it as it lands. That's how life is. Okay, and so this can be very linked with our values, our value structures, our value systems, and we are upgrading as a collective. So we are going to be rewriting our values, what's important, what's not. And as soon as we upgrade our values, our value structures, our value systems, usually that automatically means life gets better. Life gets smoother. You start weeding out the good company from the bad company, because usually one day comes where it's just, you've been pushed too far. And it's like, you know what, finally, I think I am not putting up with this or tolerating this any longer, and I deserve better. And all of a sudden, like that, probably without realizing it, your value structures and your value systems, your personal values have just been upgraded, and therefore it triggers the outside world. Remember, what you hold in yourself for values and value systems automatically shines out on the exterior world. So you attract what you think you're worth. You attract your self-worth. You attract what your value systems are within, okay? And so this is also going to hover around relationships, partnerships, money, finances. I like to include health in this department. So a health focus. And we do have a couple health houses lit up. So that's going to be improving health, better diet, better exercise routines, maybe taking a sharp look at our focus, or having a practitioner visit, or doctor appointment, or, or herbologist appointment, anything to do in the alternative world as well. We like to include a health focus, right? And also this can include our possessions and our assets and how we make money. So our jobs, our side hustles, or our job skill, or maybe we're thinking of starting a new business or entrepreneurial venture, something like that. So it covers those areas as well. And again, when we have this week, I'm just going to point out, do take a time out, do take some recharge rest time, because this week, even though we don't have negative major aspects, it can be very, very challenging. So, it can be stressful, it can be anxiety, it can be losing sleep, it can be anxiousness, overthinking, making things worse in your head than they actually are. So if you find that happening, do catch yourself, do something about that, do adjust and think positive. So what would be the answer? So lots of times it's said that when you have that overrunning mind and the runaway mind and thinking the worst and making things up that are probably never going to happen, it's always said, catch yourself, go for a walk, spend some time in nature, listen to good music, use singing bowls, anything that's settling and calming, a good movie, read a good book. And the other thing is count your things that you're grateful for. So, say 10 gratitude statements. What are you thankful for? Make 10 things. And usually that automatically shifts your mental realm into something more positive. So it's always said positive and gratitude cannot live in the same room or the same area as negativity, which is true, right? So you want to shift your thinking patterns and do get rest. So lots of times when we're overtired and very, very exhausted, our mind automatically goes into the negative because we're overtired. So lots of times it's just like, like a 2-year-old kid when they're crabby and bitchy and miserable. 9 times out of 10, if they're not sick, it's because they're overtired. So as adults, we are much the same way if you sit and think about it. I know I am when I feel like I'm just overwhelmed or overworked. A good little power nap or a good rest at night really makes you into a new person when you wake up. Okay? So there's that. Again, Mars is very, very active. Again, so that can be war-torn energy as well. When I see kind of what's showing up here for conjunctions and those types of things. When it's very, very active with Mars, so it can be, sparks of war, fights. That can actually be war on a global scale, or those types of things, or acts of violence, those types of things. So Mars is known for that, but it's also on the good side. It's full of ambitiousness, ambition. It's go-getter energy. I want to go do this. It's pioneering. It likes to start things. And it's also very, very sexual in nature, right? Very instinctive, sexual. That is the divine masculine planet, right? And so that's also some good things about that as well. It's action-oriented, right? And it also, we do have to be careful when it's challenged and it's so active, is because it can be over-ego, and it can be very, very selfish or self-focused. So that's something we want to keep an eye on. We don't want that. Whether it's personal or on a global scale, we can come see that playing out as well. All about me, myself, and I, and the hell with someone else kind of thing. So we don't want that. The other thing is, too, on the negative side of Mars, that's where it can create separation and division. Me, myself, and I, and instead of including, it excludes. So, we don't want that. So Mars also does the cutting away. So again, we can be cutting negativity out of our life, or negative areas out of our life, or cutting things loose that are, completed, finished, over with. Yeah. And again, it's assertiveness. And it's also about strength, courage, and endurance. So that's really the sweet part. So, every planet's got its pros and cons. That's kind of the Mars. And I'm talking about that because it's actually ingressing into Pisces. Okay, so, and again, the Venus thing I just talked about. And just remember, when we have an active Venus and Mars, that's like the pure divine masculine, feminine combination. So it's very, very productive. It's highly fertile, okay? So that's always really cool. And like I said, they're both shifting... They're both shifting signs this week, so that's kind of cool to see and kind of cool to experience. We are in a very special time zone as well, right? Okay. And again, we have a very active Saturn energy. It's only one major aspect, but it's going to be felt all week long, as well as Neptune. So it can be the rose-colored glasses coming off. It can be very inspirational, very creative, but it can also be about erasing away, or eroding away, or dissolving away certain things in life. So certain ways, old ways in life that are old and done. And again, that can be dissolving away, eroding away, or taking away power, status, titles of certain people or leaders, those kind of things, right? But it really likes structure. It can be certainly about manifesting. That's another good side of Saturn, manifesting into the physical world, and good karma. But it can also be karmic consequences. And again, that can run both ways because of the conjunction. That's positive or negative. So karmic consequences versus karmic rewards. Manifesting or being held accountable for what you've done in the past, right? And so it likes hard work. It likes responsibility. We can be seeing hard work paying off. That's a good thing. And when it comes to Neptunian energy, it's dreamy, it's creative, it's inspirational, it's very, very spiritual, religious oriented, those kind of things. And so we can see that playing out in the field. So that will be a different storyline, a different interest for everybody. Anyway, it's a very, very impactful week, to say the least. So make the most of it. And so something I want to go back to and talk about is Mercury retrograde. So we are sitting in Mercury retrograde from February 26th to March 20th. And so, it's really a good time for rest, rejuvenation, recharge, looking after yourself, self-care. And, they always call it the re-season, R-E. So it means redo, revise, reuse, restructure. So we're having to go back over the old things. So usually during Mercury retrograde, you can end up with problems with fridges, stoves, appliances. They kind of go on the fritz or die. You have to get new ones. Plans don't stick. So we not only have that aspect-wise going on this week, but we have Mercury retrograde, which means you're going to have to reschedule or revamp appointments, or appointments that were made are not right. You have to go back and correct them. So again, be light on your feet. Plans are not going to stick. You cannot write them in concrete. That's not going to happen, but that's okay. You know that ahead of time, right? You can prepare, you can adjust, and have your head set for that particular energy. That can be problems with travel, flat tires, dead batteries, flight problems, lost luggage, And often more famous people tend to die during Mercury retrograde, which seems a little like kind of off the wall, but that actually is true. And again, hiccups in travel, hiccups in communication, misunderstanding, miscommunication. Do check your junk file in your email, because for some reason during that particular time they end up going to the wrong places or they don't get there at all. So do always double check and do follow-ups on all your communication. So emails or phone calls, make sure that person got the message, and if they got it, make sure they understood it correctly. So that always runs in the Mercury retrograde. And again, that people from the past, they show up like out of the woodwork like crazy. It's like a magnet time for people from the past. So again, there's quite a few more things that can go on with Mercury retrograde. And I am asked by people, what the hell is it good for? Well, it's good for rest. It's good for recharging. It's good for reviewing old things or old projects and perfecting them. This is almost like the second chance to make it perfect, right? The second opportunity to make it perfect. And the other thing is, if you leave your schedule somewhat open, it's always good for last minute magic. So, good opportunities that come up last minute because you didn't have something planned, you can go, or you can go do it, or you can plan to go do it. So that's always a good thing. And then over the years, I've always come to realize it is a really, really good rest time if you can, okay? And so, some examples, this has actually happened to me. So a good example of a Mercury retrograde, and that's something else, do not purchase electronics, so phones, iPhones, iPads, computers, laptops, desktops, anything to do with anything electronics and transportation, vehicles, quads, side-by-sides, cars, trucks, anything like that. It's basically lemon season. But if you must, buy full replacement insurance, say like on a cell phone or an iPad, but make sure you buy the right insurance, because that can go sideways too. You bought the wrong insurance plan because you bought it during Mercury retrograde. That happens. Okay, so that's something else, a warning I wanted to put out with that as well. Okay, and if you must buy, sometimes it just happens where you broke your phone, you need a phone. See if you can get a loaner until the retrograde time has passed. And if not, like I said, usually it's advisable to get insurance. I know I tried it, and yes, I did need my insurance, not once but twice. So had to try it, had to test it. That's true. And so here is just another hiccup. A story with hiccup season Mercury retrograde if you're doing purchases. So just know, if you're doing a purchase during Mercury retrograde, do expect errors and omissions and confusion and packages being lost, or they sent the wrong stuff in the package. But it's not a big deal if you can expect that. And if it's something important, you might want to go pick it up in person, right? Okay, so a good example of that, this actually happened to me. I'll get back to the story. So I ordered vitamins one time off of Amazon, and during Mercury retrograde, and I thought, okay, well, it didn't really matter. It was, if it made it here in time, good. If it was late, well, that's fine. It wasn't the end of the world. And I thought, let's just see how this goes. So I ordered it, and it came in lightning speed, and I thought, wow, this worked out really well, considering it was a Mercury retrograde, and I tend to be Mercury retrograde challenged. So anyway, everything was there, everything was accounted for, the billing was right, it was speedy, it was good. And then in a couple of days, I had opened up my vitamins, and I thought, what the hell is all this yellow stuff all over the place? And I think it was mucky mess, and they were gel caps. Only to realize about 3 days later, when I dumped the whole jar out, only realizing out of all 120 or 240 capsules, that there was a bunch broken at the bottom of the bottle, and therefore, because they were gel, they were oozy yellow gel over and made everything all sticky. So I took everything out, and I had to dry off all the capsules that were not damaged, clean out the bottle, and get a hold of Amazon and let them know that probably if mine was impacted, probably that whole case in that lot probably was damaged. Okay, so again, damaged goods. So that is a perfect prime example of a Mercury retrograde order of any kind. So even if you ordered make it, the pans would probably come smashed or broke, something like that. I've actually seen that happen. Excuse me. All right. So enough about that. So again, it's just basically sift through the old, sort through the old, redo, reuse, restructure, revise. Again, try and make old projects perfect. It's a perfect time to dig out old projects, and I might do that myself. And again, just avoid buying any new electronic of any kind or vehicle or anything that has 4 tires and a motor, or even that even includes mopeds or scooters, electric scooters, anything like that. Okay. So that's kind of the general curveball of that. So, and I will include that on the below part of the weekly as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the eclipse season. Okay, so the eclipse season currently right now is North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. It's known as a health axis, but of course it takes in, workload, how you make your money, things that are important to you, those kind of things as well as, spirituality, avoiding, evading things, those kind of things, being dreamy, creative expression, addictions, fogginess, lack of clarity, those types of things. But anyway, so known as a health axis. So the last time we had this health axis exact was back in 2006, 2007, and into 2008. So if you think back to that time zone, what was going on for you back then? So it will have similar storylines or themes. It certainly won't always be the same story. Repeat, no. But it'll be something similar. So it can be something, similar that shows up maybe from the same root cause. And if it's not you, this can actually happen to the generation below you. So if you have kids, it could be your kids going through the same similar thing as 18 years ago. And just note that the lunar nodes, their complete cycle happen about every 18 years, right? And so this particular one we're on, it started in January 2025 and it will officially end July of 2026, but it will merge out until about the fall of 2026. So it'll come to a close. And so that's good. So if there's any health challenges, health focuses, or anything you need help with or results or resolutions with, chances are it will happen in the next probably 6 months. Or it can be the health focus and, finding out what's wrong and what can we do about it. So health focus, positive or negative, but that's the time zone. And because we had this hybrid eclipse coming in here in February, so that's mixing both sets of signs, merging out of one, merging into the next sign. So like I said before, the new set of eclipse signs is going to be North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo. Okay, so the last time this would have happened would have been about December 2007 to about August 2009. That's exact. So go in about, 4 months, 3-4 months prior. So that would be into, say, about September 2007 to about, November 2009, somewhere in there. But the exact, so December 2007, a little bit before, to August 2009, a little bit after. So that was the exact same cycle, but previously, so about 18 years ago, of course. And then the reverse cycle will actually have come into play too. So go back to it would be like a half cycle. So May 2017 to November 2018. What was going on in those particular time zones for you in life? Again, it will be related, linked, similar situations, circumstances, or energies. It will not be the same, but it will be similar themes or similar storylines, okay? All right, so we are going to jump into, I'm going to talk about circle the dates. So the circle dates are basically every day. Okay, so March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're all high impact days, lots going on. And as much as I'd like to say it's going to be smooth and operational, that's not going to be the case, because this can really swing out of control really, really easy. And we're still having some spin-off energy from that Mars square Uranus, which is that crazy, erratic, war-torn or acts of violence or acts of war energy. So we're going to still be feeling that, but it's on the downhill side, which is a good thing, because we kind of had a crazy February with Uranus squares. Crazy people, crazy behavior. It's unstable. It's unpredictable. So that is going to be affecting and impacting, plus Mercury retrograde, plus the total lunar full moon eclipse, that will play its role, and so many conjunctions, which are the highest, most powerful, impactful aspect on the charts. We have 3 of those this week. Okay, and so I'm going to move on into, the Pisces stellium. So again, we have a high Pisces stellium, which means we have more than 3 planets in it sitting in the sign of Pisces. So again, it's very intuitive. It's highly, highly emotional. It's very compassionate, sympathetic. And the one thing I will put out for any water sign, but this particular would be collective, is be careful not to absorb other people's negative energy. That will be happening very, very easily this whole week, okay? So, purge, shed, clear, delete all that negative energy and breathe in and bring in new, clean, clarity energy within, okay? When you have so much water energy, it becomes like that absorbent sponge, and usually it wants to absorb and hold on to the negativity. Well, we don't want that. All right, just looking at my list here. Oh yes, and we are boxed in by 2 trines, so that's pretty cool too. So we have one major trine which is going to be happening on March 5th, which is a Sun trine Jupiter. So that's beautiful, beautiful. Good luck, growth, expansion, expanding your horizons. Could be long distance travel, any kind of thing like that. So really, really good mojo, good luck, good news. Okay. And the next one we're going to see is going to be on March 9th, which is not part of this week, but it will fall into the Monday of next week. So which means we're going to be boxed in by good mojo, right? Again, that will be a Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter. Again, good news, good information, good mojo, rewards, gifts, opportunities. So we're boxed in by that. So like I said, it could be a super, super, super perfect week, or it can be just kind of all hell breaking loose and all over the place. But it does have some good mojo around it, so that's good. So along if it's very upset and upheavalish and some bad news, you're still going to have a little bit of good that goes with it, right? But so that's going to be a different storyline for everybody. Okay, so I'm going to go into a few areas of interest here, subject matter. Again, so I talked about the relationships and partnerships. Again, this can include lots of communication. The 7th house is lit up. Practitioners, helpers, aesthetics, design, art, creativity. And this can have to do with contracts and agreements. So in particular, I would not sign or do anything to do with any contracts or agreements, because there's going to be a problem with it, because it's falling in during Mercury retrograde. It's not advised to sign contracts or do agreements or paperwork, because there's always going to be a problem with it. And just be careful if you are having to, just maybe make it short term. But there's always problems with the details or the fine print. So the devil's in the detail, the devil's in the fine print. So do look close. Okay, and this can hover on clients, customers, customer relations, public relations, customer service. And this is also to do with relationship with self. Okay, so that, again, I talked about before. Again, the finances, budgeting, major purchases, your income, your work, how you support yourself can be looked at. Again, this can be hovering around environment and earth. Okay, so our earthly goods, this is about money, possessions, assets, our valuables, those kind of things. And something else it can do with, again, mother nature and acts of God, weather, or events. So like eruptions, meaning like it could be earthquakes, it could be tornadoes, it could be volcanoes, anything that would be considered an act of God, weather, or occurrence. Again, the physical body, the physical health. So that can also be about the head, the face, the outside of the face, the outside of the head to the interior, the brain, any like behind the eye, sinus cavities, the facial areas, the physical body, and all about the muscles or the muscles in the body. And you might be doing a redo on your appearance, or on how you're identified by the public. And again, your self-worth, right? In your viewpoint, your opinions, how you take things in stride, deal with things on a daily basis. Okay. And again, this can really hover around lots of communication this week, like I said before, but this can hover around relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. Again, anything to do with computers, iPhones, iPads, iPods, interpersonal device or device systems. Again, there's nothing wrong with window shopping. I would not buy. It's not advised to buy anything to do with communications. And again, transportation here and there, but tends to be short trips. So uptown to the post office, to the neighboring city, to the neighboring town, downtown, to the neighbors, or in your local environment. That's very, very highlighted. Writing, editing, Oh, and communication with siblings, so brothers, sisters, if you have any. And it could be in-laws too, right? Okay, and this can have to do with social media and internet. So when I say that can be, you might be watching more of it, or you might be partaking it. You might be creating a social media platform or internet work or internet platform, anything to do with that. And again, we can expect problems with internet. So internet reception or outages, those kind of things, that can happen. And again, this can be communication not only with relatives and siblings, but it can be with neighbors or people we're close to or good friends, okay? And again, I will put out a warning: do not gossip, do watch what you say, even if you know fact versus fiction. Just choose not to take part, because this can be a little bit of a waspy week to get involved with that. So avoid gossiping, avoid listening to gossiping, and avoid spreading gossip. So I always like to say that when the 3rd house comes up, because that can often be a problem. we do have our total lunar eclipse in Virgo, and so I want to talk about the moon a little bit. So the moon is definitely involved, and so I will talk about the health conditions that come with the moon, but it lights up the fourth house. So this is very, very emotional. It's about our inner world. It's about our home, our housing, the real estate, the property we live on, the land we own. It can be involved moving, buying, selling property, the occupants in the house behind closed doors, the family in the house behind closed doors, doing repairs, renovations, additions. And again, this really has to do with family. So family oriented, whoever you would consider family. So most of the time that would be our birth family, but that's not always the case. So sometimes some of us don't get along with families, or that's maybe not who we're close to, but we have the family we choose, okay? Your family you belong with, or you click with, you vibe with. So that can be anything family oriented. And this also takes in ancestry, genealogy. Okay, our roots, where we came from, and this can very, very be mom or mother linked, or our foundations. Okay, and so that can actually be our family foundations, our roots, and where we come from. But this can actually relate to the foundations in a house or a home, so concrete or wood structure. So that could be a possibility. And genetics. So when I talk about genetics, that can be about genetic testing, doing genealogy charts, doing genealogy for our family roots or family trees, and this can also link to old age. Again, genealogy, genetics, gene-oriented some way, shape, and form. So that can be gene-oriented for health factors, gene testing, right down to genetic genealogy for finding relatives or family members, right? And this is always, again, about the hidden. Anytime you have the 4th, 8th, or 12th house, they are known as water houses. They're dark, they're below the surface. You cannot see what's going in or on around there. And so that's often where the subconscious and our inner emotions lie. Often they are hidden, okay? So it can bring up those areas. Again, I've talked about the health houses. So we have 1 and 6 lit up. Those are both health houses. 1, 6, and 8 are all health houses. So again, this can also bring up not only health, healing, wellness. That could be daily routines, whether that's health-oriented, diet, exercise, health focus. But finding systems that work, being very, very organized, starting to go through things and organize. It just reminds me of spring cleaning, actually spring cleaning within the body or spring cleaning within the house or the office. And this can be to do with pets, and the details on everything are very, very important or very vital this week, okay? This can include employees, or mentorship, and wanting to do things that are very important to you or things that you enjoy, okay? So the 6th house is also known as the karma house. 6 and 12 are karma houses. And so this can sometimes carry a little bit of bad luck and, karma linked, right? We have to work on those karmic cycles to fix them, repair them, and put them to rest and move on. And this can include slavery or feeling enslaved or enslavement. So what do I mean by that? So feeling enslaved. So that can be enslavement or feeling enslaved in a relationship, which is not a good thing. Another good example would be slavery or enslaved to a job. So you're enslaved to a job. You're there for the money because you have to be, because you carry a large debt load, right? You have to have the income to pay the debt. Another good example of that. And so this can also be hovering around children, again, grandchildren, finding pleasure and joy. Again, creative expression is very, very highlighted this weekend. It's very lift-off energy, very entrepreneurial, creative ideas, like that spark of idea, and then all of a sudden away you go with that thought or that entrepreneurial idea or project. And again, it's not a time to launch anything new. Do not register a business or anything like that. You don't want to do anything concrete for business or project that's brand new, because it tends to be short-lived if it's started up or registered in Mercury retrograde. So that's just something I like to point out to people. So wait till after the 20th before you ever launch anything, register anything, or incorporate, register a business, or have a kickoff for a launch point for a product. Just wait till after March 20th. Again, so this can have around hobbies, fun, having fun, and this can include gambling, right? But don't get carried away with that. And talents and hidden talents. So there'll be some of you out there have talent, and then all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, you come out with this hidden talent. You've had it the whole time, and yet the neighbor never knew, or the public never knew. And this can also be about taking leadership role, having a leadership role, or taking a leadership role in your own life. And just remember, if you are not the leader in your own life, there's always somebody there that's happy to take over your life and run it for you. So nobody wants that. You are an individual. You do your own thing. Okay, and this can also be being seen on a more public stage or a more public scale. This is also the house of romance, falling in love and sex. And what brings you joy and having fun? It's the speculation house. It's the good mojo house, the good luck house, and it's also the bucket list house. And again, we will just cover over. I covered a little bit of this. So this can have to do with father figure. So that could be genetic or just someone who played a father figure in your life. Authority figure. So this is where it's going to link out into the global stage. And we'll see whether there's global leaders highlighted. And it can be kind of a real hell show going on, right? So there's that. And so that can link up with leaders from countries, provinces, states, anything to do with a powerful leadership role, holding power, title, or status. So not only can it be leadership on a global level, it can be people who hold power, say, on a judicial bench, the courtroom, bosses, okay? Anything who would hold that kind of power or over another, or are ruling or running or managing any sort of role in life, okay? This can have to do with business, work, jobs, again, career management. And again, this is to do with long-term progression, long-term structure, and it's about time, physical time. The clock matters, the date matters, the time matters. So that is going to be very highlighted. And your public reputation. So again, we'll go back for the example of people who hold power, status. So it could be, prime minister, it could be presidents, it could be any sort of leader, any sort of group or foundation. Or forum, those kind of things. And so this is going to be very, very highly, there's going to be some that are going to be struck from the list and kind of ousted while others take over, but it's going to be public relation oriented, meaning this person held this, but now they're gone. This person was down here and now they're up there. This person lost their job or lost their position and this person's taking over. And again, that will come by news, information, and probably by truth or exposure, which kind of changes the whole trajectory of everything. Things get rerouted. It's kind of like the Rubik's Cube, right? This goes this way, that way, whatever, and what doesn't fit goes and then moves into a perfect placement or perfect alignment. And this can also have to do with your title on a personal level. So what do I mean by that? So it can mean, you're single, you're divorced, you're married, you're becoming divorced from married, you're single, becoming married from an old way of single. Anyway, so how you're seen. So any, like married, single, divorced, apply it accordingly. So that could be in there. And structures, and accountability and strategy. It's also, again, discipline and responsibility. So again, when we keep on flipping this around, a discipline, responsibility, strategy, accountability, that keeps on flipping around to the public eye on the global scale with leaders, high position leaders. All right, and so when we see this too, the 12th house is very, very lit up. Again, a water house. It's hidden. It's beneath the surface. It's dark. We can't see. So this is always a house known as things going on behind the scenes. Seeing the things going on, so whether it's hard work by another and someone else taking credit for it, or someone working in behind the scenes that it's not exposed to the public. You can't see it, but there's lots going on. Or things going on in the background that are hidden. They're secrets, and people hope that they don't get found out. It's a house of private. And it's a house of rest and retreat. And again, rest and retreat time during Mercury retrograde is really a good thing to do if you can do it. Not only that, it has to do with dream time. It can be remote viewing, teleportation, astral dreaming, lucid dreaming, anything to do with the dream state. So if you do dream, write down your dreams. Do keep a dream journal because it does come in very handy down the road. Okay, this can also be, again, this very, very elevated energy for mystical study, esoteric study, occult, religious study, spirituality in any way, shape, or form. So that can be anything textbook or biblical religious study to anything to do with tarot, numerology, astrology, anything and all of the above, and maybe in combination. I mean, maybe you're a mainstream religious practicing person and all of a sudden you take an interest in astrology, right? That's just for example. There's room for everybody, so apply that accordingly. It's a different story and theme for everyone. This is also the house of past lives, Akashic records. Again, like I said, mystical study. And this is also the house of fears and addictions. Okay, so this can maybe be a problem, or maybe it's time to take off the rose-colored glasses, face those fears, face those addictions. It's also like a house of avoiding, ignoring, evading, and escapism. So most often that's linked with addictions or just avoiding life and avoiding reality, but eventually it does catch up with you. So that's usually recognize it and acknowledge it and do something about it. And so when we talk about escapism, that can often fall in with addictions. So whether it's alcohol, drugs, or a combination of the both, or prescription drugs, whatever. Avoiding, evading, escapism is all the same. It doesn't matter by what method is used. So it's usually something that needs to be looked at, adhered, and acknowledged, and fixed, right? Face it and deal with it. And so this can also include foreign lands and foreign shores. So that can be people from foreign lands, foreign shores. Pisces is also known as people with refugees or, immigration, those types of things as well. So that could be highlighted. That has been quite highlighted for quite some time. And generational karma. So again, generational karma. So what do I mean by that? So that can also link to past lives, generational karma. So it would be a karmic situation that keeps on repeating in family lines and generations. So your generation, your parents' generation, your grandparents' generation, your great-grandparents' generation, there's something going on there that keeps on repeating cycle after cycle after generation. So often that shows up here too. And it's a very emotional house. And again, we do have ways of healthy and unhealthy escapism. I've talked about the unhealthy. So healthy escapism, again, is going for walks, exercising, spending time in nature, listening to good music, something that's decompressing to get rid of negative energy, singing bowls, good movies, reading, anything like that would bring you clarity, discharging old negative energy and replenishing with good positive energy. So whatever brings you joy, whatever brings you peace, and whatever brings you decompression energy. Time out in nature, going for a drive, going for a walk with a friend, just being out in nature can do it for a lot of people. Okay, and it's a very, very artsy-fartsy creative house as well. So again, the 12th house is a cool house. It's a huge house, lots going on. So it can be all those kinds of areas. And again, we have a very, very high impact week. We have a very, very active week. And so those are all the highlighted areas that can be going on. And just remember, Algol is very active and it's mixed with Uranus. So it's unexpected death and wealth. So that could be figurative to physical. And again, this can have to do with teeth, upper and lower dentures, anything like that, or alcoholism related. So that's very out there. And something else, this can be, getting some good news after a long, hard period of struggle and conflict, but coming out shiny on the other end. Right? That's a rarity, but it's there, right? Okay, so we're going to move on to our health and anatomy. And so we are going to be looking, of course, at the physical body. So the muscular system that is throughout the body, external reproductive organs, head and face, red blood cells. So that can be red blood cell testing, anything to do with the red blood cells, bladder, adrenal glands. And it can have to do with the throat, the chin, the cheeks, the sense of taste, kidneys, ovaries, internal reproductive organs. And again, that will include both male and female hormones, okay, the hormone system as well. Blood circulation and sensory organs of the skin. And this can also be about skin quality, skin condition, doing something with your skin, improving it, or you have skin problems like eczema or psoriasis. We're looking at that to fix it or find a remedy. This can include the nervous system. So that's finding calm ways to calm down the nervous system. So that can be stress, anxiety, nervousness, lack of sleep, overthinking, runaway mind. That's all included that. So the brain, in and out, right? Sight, that's eyes, the mouth, the tongue, the respiratory system. That includes the lungs, the hands, the arms, the elbows, the thyroid gland, of course, and again, the mind, like I just talked about, and the thymus gland. Okay, the heart, the heart function, heart quality. Heart healthy, is it or isn't it? Upper back, the spleen, circulatory system, again, the eyes. And you know what? Your general state of health and your general state of vitality. And so I also want to talk about the moons because the moon is very, very heightened because we have the full moon total lunar eclipse in Virgo, which Virgo rules the health house of house number 6. So when we talk about the moon, this is to do with the breasts, the stomach, the stomach, how it functions, digesting. It could even be stomach infections, right? Fluid balance, digestion, glandular secretions, left eye of the male and right eye of the female. And again, this is to do with and just remember, fluids in the body are lowest at the new moon and highest at the full moon. So that would mean right now when we're coming into the full moon, you could have excess swelling, right? Whether it's, swelling below the surface of the skin or just abnormal swelling or water retention. So just remember that's always the highest water retention and swelling is always at the full moon, which is going to be here tomorrow. The 3rd, not tomorrow. Keep that in mind. And so that is always something when you're looking for surgery dates, those kind of things. You do not want to ever have surgery, if possible, on a full moon or around a couple days on either side of a full moon, because it's excessive swelling and it can be excessive hemorrhaging or bleeding, right? So excessive fluid levels, it doesn't always mean water. It can mean blood or not only swelling, excessive swelling, water retention, but it can be excessive bleeding. All right, so this is also going to bring up the skin, like I talked about already, and any sort of bone or bones in the body, the skeletal system as a whole you might be looking at, and teeth, upper and lower, ligaments, knees, auditory organs, left ear, gallbladder, parathyroid, body protein, and this also includes the tendons. And we might be dealing with viruses, and this can include mental illness as well, and it can include depression. So the spinal column, anything to do with the spinal column, nerve fibers, and definitely the feet, the pineal gland, telepathic function. So if you're having to repeat, build the strength in a certain, body part or body area, that can be very, very highlighted here. So we have to keep on going back to physiotherapy to build up those weak spots, whatever that is for you. This can also hover on white blood cells, white blood cell testing, or white blood cell count. And kinesthetic function. So I think I said telepathic function, but anyway, telepathic function, that of course is the mind and being the universal connection with the mind, or the third eye or crown chakra. I think I said that backwards. So the kinesthetic function, that is about the rinse, repeat. Physiotherapy, building something up to build it strong. If it's a weak spot or a weak point, or it's not functioning right, we want to build it right back to 100% function where it was before. And the thymus gland. All right, so that concludes all of our health and anatomy areas. And so with that being said, this is not a good time to launch anything, register anything, start anything, but this is a superb time to bring out those old projects from before and having some really, really good flow, good luck, good news with it. Or things being done in lightning speed, but from a past project, a past area, past idea. And again, do expect to see people from your past show up or hear from them or bump into them. Again, this is a very, very elevated week. There is a huge amount going on this week. And so keep everything in stride, roll with what works, what doesn't work, set aside, because again, it's a week where plans are going to change like crazy on a daily basis. So roll with it, have plan A, B, C, D, E in store. So if plan A doesn't work out, we can jump to plan B or plan C if required. All right, so do enjoy this week. We are, again, very, very amplified energy all week long. We really don't have any days where we're calm and whatever, because it's just amplified day after day. And I think that's all I have to say for this week. So do enjoy it, keep everything in check, and do study and look into the old past areas, because that will serve you well. And keep tempers and emotions under wrap, and do not engage in conflict, okay? And remember, we are boxed in by 2 Jupiter trines, which is absolutely amazing energy. So got really, really good lift-off energy, good mojo, okay? So until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.